How the clients in the New York Times article, they spent their life savings on life coaching, could have avoided all the debt and regret and actually gotten some results. I'm Heather Wild. I'm an ethical sales strategist, and I'm also a consumer advocate because I have seen the problems in the coaching industry for years. And I've written and published two books about it, one in early 2022 and one in December of 2023. Now, first off, I am not blaming these poor souls for getting taken advantage of. Not at all. The stuff that I'm about to share with you, the 7 steps that I'm going to share for finding the right coach and actually getting good results, it's taken me over $100,000 in like business coaching. That's just in business coaching that I've invested in, and courses and programs. But I've also invested heavily in health coaching, relationship coaching, spiritual coaching, all kinds of things. And so this is stuff that it's taken me years to learn. And I'm very passionate about putting it out there because I say therapy saved my life. I had suicidal ideation. I was very, very depressed. I come from a highly dysfunctional family, and therapy definitely helped, definitely saved my life. But personal growth is what has actually made it worth living, right? So I am very passionate about the coaching industry, but I also am honest about there's problems. And excuse me, there's problems in the coaching industry. And a lot of the stuff that they talk about in the New York Times article, I agree with 1000%. I also agree with them that it's not every coach is not a scammer, not everything about coaching is not a pyramid scheme, but to avoid that type of stuff, here's 7 steps. And this is from my book, What Every Entrepreneur Wishes They'd Known Before Hiring a Business Coach. Now, I'm going to try to extrapolate and just do the steps like so that anybody can use them for any type of coaching. But the book was written more about business coaching. So here we go. Step number 1, figure out what kind of coach you need. Okay. So don't get on social media and start scrolling and come across somebody's ad and they're telling you that they can fix everything in your life and you decide, oh, this is the coach for me, right? Really sit down, like maybe with your therapist or, with a good friend, and really figure out like what area of your life, or your health, what do you really want to focus on? And then be very intentional, right? Go and find the person who specializes in that. And find the person who specializes not only in the thing that you want help changing or getting a transformation in, but make sure that they've worked with people like you before. They talk about people, working with people in your age group or in your culture or whatever might be relevant to help you get the best results. Because just because somebody can get results for me, a 48-year-old white woman, who was born and raised in the US, doesn't mean that they can get results for anybody in any country at any age group, right? So these are just things that you want to be aware of. Okay, so once you've decided what kind of coach you need, what you want to work on, you want to narrow down like maybe 3 or 4 mentors that look like they might fit the bill. Okay, you do not go out and just buy from them like first thing. That's the worst thing you can do. You want to research these people for like 3 to 6 months, and don't get rushed because all of a sudden, you're on their email list and they're saying, oh, I've got this 3-day challenge, or I've got, this thing going, happening, and you should jump in right now. Jump into free things, you do get on their email list. If they have a free challenge or a masterclass, get on the list for that and go actually watch it. Podcast, YouTube channels, any of that stuff, go check it out, right? Because it's going to start to give you more of a feel of, who they actually work with, who they get good results for, how they do things, and some things you're looking for in all of this free stuff. Does their stuff sound like everybody else? Is it just like regurgitated, because if so, then they're probably not really an expert. They've just read a couple of books and they're kind of faking it. You also want to look at like, what kind of marketing are they using? Are they using a lot of FOMO in their marketing? Are they overhyping things? When you read about the results that people are getting, do you think that sounds too good to be true? then that's a red flag. Okay. So you just want to sit back and observe, like observe for free for like 3 to 6 months and get a feel for people. So that is step two, research and observe. So I'm reading from the table of contents of my book. So I want to make sure that I get all this out. So step three, go and look at their reviews and testimonials, but take everything you read with a grain of salt. If you can go to places like if they have a Facebook business page, or you find them on Yelp, or there's like Google reviews, those you can pay a little closer attention to, like you can believe a little bit more, because the coach doesn't have control over what people say there, unless they have a gag order or a non-disclosure order in their contract, which I made another video about, because one of the people in the New York Times article kind of indicated they were worried about retaliation and harassment. And I wonder if that person had a gag order, that coach had a gag order in their contract. So another reason to take testimonials and stuff with a grain of salt, because people may be barred legally from actually speaking out about a bad experience. Okay, but you're going to look at the reviews, and you're going to look at like, look for patterns, were people happy? Were they, did they get results? Would they recommend, working with this person to somebody else? And anywhere that you can, actually reach out to the reviewer and say, hey, I'm thinking about working with this person. I saw your testimonial. Do you stand by that? Is it something that you stand by today? Because what I've had happen, I've had coaches take a testimonial that I've given them and rewrite it to make it sound more impressive. I also had a coach that, oh God, it just went out of my mind. There's all kinds of games, bottom line, that people can play with their testimonials, especially if it's something that's on their website, or that they're, reposting a screenshot. Oh, this was the thing. So I was having a really positive experience in the beginning of a program with a coach, and I wrote something, really positive, and she screenshot and she put it all over social media. And, within a few weeks, I did not feel the same way about this coach. So you want to ask, if you can, reach out to people and just say, do you stand by this testimonial the way that it was written? Is it true? And do you still feel this way? Right? Is a great question to ask. All right. So step three is review the testimonials and reviews. Step four, purchase a low ticket or mid ticket program or course or something. Ideally, you want to choose something that's going to give you at least a little bit of access to the coach. Like if they have, it probably wouldn't be a low ticket, but if they have a mid ticket, so low ticket is generally anything $100 or less. Mid ticket is anything usually from $100 up to 1,000. Some people say 2,000. There's no hard and fast rules about these things. But if you could find something that maybe is like a small group program that's, maybe only a month, and they're charging, $600-700 for it or something, it's much better to spend, $600 and find out somebody's not the right fit for you than it is to spend thousands, right? So, for instance, in my own experience and the experience of people in the New York Times article, if they had, and I don't know the whole story, maybe they did some of this stuff, and I'm going to talk about why you can have due diligence, but there's one question you really need to ask before you buy. It's something you really need to be clear on, so that if, it starts out good and then it goes bad, you have options. Okay. But if you looked at their reviews, you've looked at their testimonials, you look at their marketing, and they seem like they're the right coach for you. And again, like somebody could be a great coach. Like I'm fantastic at teaching people ethical sales strategies and helping them, create an ethical sales system for their business. But I'm not the right coach for everybody, but I'm actually a coach that will tell people, be like, I don't think you're ready for me yet. Go, here's a few referrals of people that might be, better suited for where you are in business, right? Um, but there's also people that maybe they're in the right stage of business and everything, but I don't really vibe with them, or I don't really vibe with the type of business they want me to help them with, right? So I'm just not the right coach for everybody. And so know that, it's not a judgment on that person that you're researching. It's just like, no, you're probably not the right coach for me, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, so purchasing a low ticket or a mid ticket item. Ideally, like I said, something that's going to give you a little bit of access, get you a chance to interact with them a little bit. and kind of see what they're like. Because some people, the facade, if they're putting a facade out to the public and their marketing, it can crumble really, really quickly once they kind of got you, right? So in that low ticket or mid ticket program, really, look at, are they delivering what they said they were going to deliver? Are they do they seem happy to be helping you? Do they seem invested in actually helping you get some results? And let me set some expectations for you. So when before you even get to the low and mid ticket, like if they have a free challenge or a free masterclass, like sign up for it. But look, are they saying that this free masterclass is going to solve all your problems? That's a red flag, right? But one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of people make, especially when they're new entrepreneurs and they're kind of broke and they're looking for help, they will go to all these free master classes and consume all this free content thinking that they can do it on their own. And for like 99.9999999% of us, we need way more than what this free thing is going to offer, right? So when you're going to a free training, or listening to their podcast or their YouTube channel, you have to have the right expectations. The purpose of that is to, maybe definitely give you some knowledge. It should be giving you some knowledge, but also just letting you get to know this mentor a little bit better, like getting to know this coach and what their practices are and what their beliefs are and what their processes are for teaching people so that you can make a really informed decision. Now, if you were able to take that information and they give you some really good actionable steps, like go implement them, see if it works for you, see if what they're teaching is even something that is possibly going to work for you. But don't be surprised if it doesn't change everything. It's probably not going to, right? And it's the same with the low and mid ticket. So they should be giving you a little more value in these. But again, it's probably not going to change everything. Like the better results that you're going to get are going to be doing like a really small group program or actually getting coached one-to-one. Like don't buy big group programs if there's more than 20 people in it. You are not going to get enough individualized attention. One of the things I say is like any kind of change, like, and especially in my niche of like sales and marketing, um, it's simplicated, right? So like learning about lead gen and sales is really simple. You watch a video and you think, oh, okay, that's easy. I can do that. But then when you sit down to actually apply it to your own business, that's where it gets complicated, right? So it's the same thing with weight loss or relationships or, learning to meditate or whatever it is that you're trying to do. Information is not going to be enough, right? So in this lower mid ticket, they should be giving you a little more information than they did in the free stuff. If it's just a repeat of the free stuff, that's also kind of a problem. Now, if they're repeating the free stuff and then going a little deeper with it, that's good, right? So you're getting a little more of a look of how they do things. But the biggest thing to pay attention to is just how they are when they interact with you. If you're asking questions in the Facebook group, for instance, if they have a free Facebook group that goes with this offer, or any kind of place where you can ask questions, are they answering them in a timely manner? Are they answering them thoroughly? And really look at that. And if you don't have a good experience in that low or mid ticket offer, don't buy anything else from this person. Like go to the next person, which is why I said pick out 3 or 4 people that look like they might be a good fit and just go down the line. Okay, so if you go through a lower mid-ticket program and you really liked them and you got some progress, you should get some progress, but just don't think that, investing in this small thing is going to change your life, because it's probably not going to. And they shouldn't be telling you that it's going to change everything. But if you get into it and it was a good thing and you feel like this person really is the right person for you, then if you really are serious about getting a transformation, then look at one of their higher ticket programs. So high ticket can be anything from 1 to 2,000 and above, right? I think of anything 10,000 or above moving in more like to premium coaching. But again, there's no hard and fast rules about this. But anything that's like premium, anything that's like, the more expensive it is, the more high touch it should be, the less students there should be, or it should be one-to-one, and there should be, the more they're charging you, the more access that you should have to them. I don't care if they're a celebrity coach, I don't care if they're like, well, I'm just really busy. You're charging me that much money. I better have access to you. It better be worth it. Not just because you sat on Oprah's couch and you wrote a bunch of books. I don't care. I care about how much you're going to serve me, right? Because that's going to be what's going to help me, not your list of accomplishments. Okay. So look at, their higher ticket offers and get on a sales call with them. Okay. So a lot of people will outsource their sales to sales teams, advocate for yourself and say, I really want to speak to the coach. Now, if you've already developed a little bit of a relationship with them in the lower mid ticket offer, then they should be more willing to get on a call with you. I have a real problem with anyone who will not get on a sales call with me and expects me to spend thousands of dollars. Now, it didn't mention anything about this in the New York Times article, so I have no idea. I don't know how long these people researched and what they did and blah, blah, blah. They might have done all these things. And again, I'm going to share about why you can do all this and still have a problem if you don't ask this really one important question. Okay. So get on the sales call, and the biggest thing about the sales call is that it should be about making sure that you're the right fit for their program. They should be asking you questions to find out where you are in the process and what your goals are and what you've tried before, all of those things. That's what a good sales call should be about. It should not be just them, asking you a whole bunch of questions about your goals and getting you into this very expanded, very excited mindset about everything that's possible, and then basically selling your dream to you. It also should not be about them convincing you or pushing you or shaming you into not investing yourself, telling you that if you don't buy this program right now, you're not all in, all of those big, big, big red flags. And the article did talk about people being, the coaches being belittling. I think they mentioned pushy sales, and they also mentioned coaches being belittling actually in the package, the coaching containers, right? And this is a big thing. If somebody is sleazy and pushy in their marketing and their sales, then they are more than likely going to be the type of coaches who are mentally and emotionally abusive as coaches, because they're not really coaches. Like a coach, I could do a whole other video about what a coach really is and a coach really isn't, but it's not forcing people to do things. It's not shaming people into doing things. And if they're doing it in their sales and marketing, that's the kind of coach they're also going to be. So that's also a big red flag. Just walk away. There's somebody else that can help you and won't abuse you in the process. Okay. So get on a sales call, get on a sales call with them. There are some coaches that say, I don't do sales calls. Well, I don't pay you. I worked with one non-sales call coach, and it really showed in the way that she showed up as a coach. And I will never ever do that again. And I highly suggest that you don't either. Even if you've worked with them in that low ticket or mid ticket program, and you know a little bit about them and they know a little bit about you, it's a really important step to take. But step 6, don't pay until you've read the contract. So don't buy on the sales call. If you haven't had a chance to go through the contract and really read what you're getting into, do not buy. I just, and it's very easy to get very excited on a sales call, especially if you are talking to someone who is very good at using manipulative language. And it's very easy to just, jump into something, especially if they're using FOMO or they're shaming you. Oh, you must not really want to lose weight if you're not willing to pay me this $10,000 right now. No, screw that. There's somebody else that can help you, and won't be abusive. Okay. So don't mind the sales call. You need time to look over the contract. And you also need time to just let everything sit in and really choose what you want to do. Now, a coach that is really concerned about you getting great results and you as a person will totally understand that. And they will actually want you to take your time because they want somebody who has really made an educated and unrushed decision, right? But if you are talking to someone and they're like, well, if you buy on the call, the program's $2,000 yet less. But if you wait until after the call, it can be 5,000, but if after the call, it's going to be 7,000. That is a really sleazy tactic, right? And what you can do if everything else about them is checked out is say, I'm just not comfortable buying on the call. I need to look at the contract. Can you please send over the contract? And is it possible to extend the fast action bonus for 48 hours? Now, how they respond to those two things are going to tell you a lot about who they are as a person. If they pitch a fit, as we say in the South, if they pitch a hissy fit about it, then they are not the coach for you. They're more interested in their bottom line than they are actually helping you. Okay. So they should send you the contract, and they should be maybe they're not okay with extending the bonus, and you can make your own judgment call about what that says about them, but they should at very least not have a problem sending over the contract and being willing to have you ask questions about it. Okay. So that was step 6. And within that, the big thing, this is the big thing that you need the question you really, really need to ask, so that if you've done all your due diligence and it still turns out to not be a good fit, you're not stuck. So what you're looking for in that contract, amongst other things, is if they have a termination clause or some kind of money back guarantee or some kind of refund policy. Because here's the thing, as a coach, and as a client, I have, sometimes decided to work with people, and everything looked good on the outset, but I didn't know until we actually got into it that, what, this is really not the right thing for me, or it's not the right time, right? And then with, people that I've allowed to hire me as their sales coach, some people it's been fabulous, and other people everything looked good, and then when we got into it, it just was not the right fit. So the industry standard for a long time has been to just not have a termination clause at all, which I always found predatory. And when I got into my first, I call him nightmare client, my first situation with a nightmare client, I didn't have any kind of escape. I call it an escape clause. I didn't have a termination clause. I added it after that. And I just let her out of the contract and just had her pay me for the sessions she had done. And then we just parted as enemies, unfortunately. It just was not the right fit. But since then, I've added in this escape clause so that I can, look at a client, and if they're not showing up and they're not doing the work, and I can see that they're just not in it to win it, then I can let them go. Or if they get in with me and they realize, what, this is not really what I wanted, I really don't enjoy working with you, they can leave, right? It's clearly spelled out. So whether or not somebody has a termination clause says a lot about them as a person. Like, I don't want somebody working with me because they're stuck working with me. They are not going to get good results. They may be incredible at what they do. I'm incredible at what I do, but we just don't mix. And so it's not going to be a good experience for me. It's not going to be a good experience for them. They're not going to get results. Why force it? Another thing that I just made a quick video about was gag orders in coaching contracts. So there may be some kind of non-disclosure or gag order that says that you can't say anything negative about that coach, meaning if you have a terrible experience with them, you can't write a negative review. I have a huge problem with these. I worked with one coach, as I mentioned in the video, that had one of these, and I never, ever, ever will sign a contract with a gag order in it ever again. Because this is one of the reasons why we're running into this situation where the New York Times is outing the coaching industry for these problems, because nobody wanted to admit, people weren't willing to admit until like the last year that they had been taken advantage of, largely because so many coaches put the bullshit line out there, is that, my program's perfect, and I'm great, and if you didn't get results, it's because you weren't all in, so they really shamed people for not getting results. And it was kind of like, I compare it to that children's tale, The Emperor with No Clothes. The emperor wears no clothes. Anyway, where, everybody was like, they didn't want to be the person who admitted that they didn't see this resplendent cloak, and clothes that the king was wearing. And finally, like, this little kid was like, he's naked. And then everybody was like, okay, yeah, you see it too, right? So it's kind of the same thing in the coaching industry. And even before gag orders, it's like they gagged us by shaming us. And again, this is not all coaches. I'm not like that. Many of the coaches I've worked with haven't been like that, but some of them definitely have. Okay, so that's my little rant about contracts. So you want to have that conversation before, and it could be, kind of awkward if they don't have the termination clause, or if they have a refund policy or they have a guarantee. You want to ask a lot of questions, because some people will use really predatory guarantees where they're like, yeah, we'll give you your money back completely, no problem. You just have to prove to us that you did the program. And the hoops they have you jump through, hardly anybody can jump through them successfully and actually get their money back. So you just want to have the uncomfortable conversation and just say, hey, listen, I know we're going into this with the, best of intentions, but if it doesn't work out, what do we do? Right. And I've actually done that in the last year. And every coach that I have chosen has said, okay, and they have not made me sign a non-terminable contract. Well, they couldn't make me anyway, because I just would not have signed it and would have gone and found somebody else. And that's the thing, like, the person you're talking to may look great, but there's somebody else out there that can help you. Like, they're not the only one. And if they're trying to tell you that they're the only one, that is a huge red flag. Walk away from that person. Okay. So that was me rambling about step 6. And please go get my book. You can get a free sample of it on Amazon. What Every Entrepreneur Wishes They Know Before Hiring a Business Coach. And you can read it for free on Kindle Unlimited. You can buy the ebook right now is $8.99. It's not a lot of money. It will save you so much money and time and frustration, because I'm going through the steps here, but like, it really breaks down exactly the red flags to look for in the marketing and in the sales. And there's just so much good information. It's only 130 pages. If you're serious about investing with coaches, go read it. It is obviously more about the business coach side of things, but everything in it is, like, most everything in it is going to be really applicable to any kind of coaching or mentorship that you're looking into. Okay, so step 7 is how to be a client that gets good results. So if you've gone through, this whole process, and, you've had them add a termination clause into their contract, and you get into it, you got to show up. You got to do the work. You got to watch the trainings. You got to take the action steps. You can't just show up to your keto coach, for instance, and think that just by going to the sessions that you're going to lose weight. You actually have to go out and, I guess, macros coach. I've actually worked with a macros coach, so let me use that as an example. If I hadn't gone out and bought the food scale and, like, bought the foods that she suggested and weighed them and kept track of everything, like, me just going to sessions was not going to help anything. Right. You have to be willing to show up and do the work and make the changes and communicate. Right. So one of the big things is that, you've got to communicate with your coach and tell them if something is not working. Right. Because especially in the first, like, month, maybe even 2 months working with somebody, the two of you are figuring out how you communicate, and you're just getting to know each other. And there's so much you don't know about each other. And if something isn't working for you, you need to be a grown up and use your words and go to your coach and say, hey, listen, this doesn't really feel like this is working for me. What can we do about it? And a good coach should say, okay, all right, well, let's talk a little bit more about this, and ask you, more questions, and really get it figured out, and be willing to work with you on it. Right. And if you have that conversation and they're not willing to work on it, then that's when you exercise your right to leave the contract. Or if they try to change and it's still not working for you, then it's time to exit the contract. But if you've done, if you've done your research really well, and not just, jumped into the first person you saw that promised you a result, then you're much more likely to get, right, really good results, and if you really kept your eyes open and the blinders off, and really paid attention to who this person is and how they treat you, and how they, if you're in a group program, how they treat other people and everything, and you've made it all the way through this process, then you've probably got a coach that is going to work with you, right? And is going to do everything in their power to actually help you get results. Like, they're about more than the money. They actually want to help you get results too. Okay. So there are your 7 steps for finding a coach that doesn't suck. Or how to get results and not get scammed. I highly recommend you go get the book. I spent so much money learning these things, and I got a lot of progress. I got a lot of amazing experiences and insights into myself, and change and growth. And I also spent a lot of money that I really, really wish I hadn't, and got mentally and emotionally abused by coaches, and really didn't make any progress. And yeah, so there's so many good people out there. If you use these 7 steps, you are much more likely to find them and have a great experience with your coach. And just avoid those scammers and predators. I want them out of business, because they make us all look terrible. AKA, well, not AKA, well, what am I trying to say? A la the New York Times article. Yeah, I want the good coaches. I want the coaches that are in it for the right reasons to be the ones to thrive. And if you use these seven steps, you're much more likely to find one of those. So this is Heather Wild signing off. I will see you in the next video.